Hi guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries today. I'm really glad you could be with me, as always. Uh, I'm gonna really try and jump into it because this is an action-packed show today. Even though I just kind of previewed it with that cryptic list picture, I'm really gonna kind of cover a lot of stuff here. So, I lied. It's not the 5 best movies ever made. No, I would never lie to you guys, you know that. Never. Um, these are, I guess you could say, comfort favorites. You know, okay, blah blah blah. My background, film theory. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm not going to read off my CV to you about whatever credentials I may have in here about movies. Um, I'm not talking about so-called foreign films, international films, because I could go on and go blah, 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 Vittorio De Sica and Bertolucci and Lena Wertmuller, and, it's just, forget it. I also don't mean anything before 1949. So I know I'm really trying to kind of narrow it down here. So it's actually 1949, 1999 I'm talking about. And again, these are not what I think are the best films of that era or any other, because we're going to get to a little bit second half of the show about a movie that I'm just disgusted by, and it ain't that old. And if that's where we're headed with movies, oh my friggin' God. Okay, so again, clear. These are kind of my go-tos, like my desert island movies. Like if you were stranded. So that doesn't mean that they're the best, but they're very good films. I'm also going to address the elephant in the room because that's my style, and I have some skin in the game in terms of perspective. These are white movies, for lack of a better word. That's neither here nor there, but it is what it is. For certain folks that listen to this or look at these lists, to you may not glare, to others it may glare. So this is because of opportunity. Of course, this is not a political show. We all know why, if we have 3 brain cells, that these are going to be enumerated as white movies, because who knows? If Cicely Tyson had done Rosemary's Baby, who knows? Who the fuck knows? You don't know? Okay, so that's why, there is no Black All About Eve, okay? It just is what it is. So we go with what we have. And what we have is brilliant and horrible. So let's finally get into my 5 best all-time comfort films of the last half of the 20th century. Okay, I have enough disclaimers. Okay, there's 5. 5. Number 1, Interiors. Now, Interiors was a film done in the 70s by Woody Allen. What movie didn't he do in the 70s? 70s, Allen was very fashionable, very popular. He was a comedian who became an actor, who became a director, whatever. He could have stayed in the Catskills and probably done very well. But he made movies. So, oh God, where do I go with it? Woody Allen, my Interiors, one of my 5, is supposed to be Woody Allen's homage to Ingmar Bergman, which basically means it's serious. Like, you could hear a pin drop and it's really melodramatic or whatever. It's serious. So yes, Woody Allen, you can like Woody Allen. I used to like Woody Allen in the late 70s. I thought he was funny, or all the way back, way to Sleeper. Now I look at his old movies, they're so dated, they're almost platitudinous. It's like, he puts me to sleep, and his comedy to me, it reminds me of how he should have stayed a comedian. But anyway, he did make a brilliant film called Interiors. Now, a lot of these films are as an actor, of course. Yes, I am a sort of a film theorist, but I can go through a whole mess of shit with movies. But I'm also an actor, and I worship at the temple of a good performance. So, Interiors. We've got Diane Keaton, we've got Mary Beth Hurt, we've got Richard Jordan, we've got Sam Waterston, and we have that girl who played an actress, and then Geraldine Page, and the E.G. Marshall, who plays her separated husband. When Alan does interiors, he goes quiet. He finally just takes himself out of the friggin' movie and shuts up and just directs. Then brilliance happens. Interiors is so beautifully written that I actually have used a monologue from that film. I clipped it a few weeks ago or whatever. That I use, it seems like 100 times. It got me some callbacks. It's from that film. Extremely well written, phenomenally performed, staggering in the end, and yet so quiet. The whole thing is just quietude. But it is, see, that's the thing I always say about acting is, if you're so compelled almost to distraction about what is that character thinking vis-a-vis through this actor, it's out of the park for me at that point. So performance is unbelievable, storyline unbelievable, just tasteful and quiet. You can just taste the quietude. And the performances, of course, Geraldine Page, she breathes brilliance. Okay, interiors. Next, let's go to a more obvious one, another comfort favorite of the top 5 of mine, All About Eve. Now, All About Eve is like the Judy Garland of movies. It's like, I don't know how else to put it. But anyway, it is brilliant. I guess, her whole brilliance, aside from her voice and her acting, was her stage presence. Well, All About Eve has a presence, it has a life of its own. Okay, again, I don't mean to harp, but like, how do we know that there wasn't a black Joseph Mankiewicz slaving away in some apartment in Hollywood that could have done an All About Eve? But we will never know that, whatever, it doesn't matter. Imagine Dorothy Dandridge as the Marilyn Monroe character, though. So, again, so quotable, so brilliant. I mean, like, literally, the script is just like sheer brilliance. Bette Davis is still, to this day, my favorite actress, believe it or not. And you couldn't ask more from a film in terms of compelling. Again, one of those desert island movies that I could, loop. That I could watch on a loop. So there's not much I need to talk about All About Eve. You need to watch it, and you need to watch it about 150 times, because you could put that movie on a loop. It's so well written. Bette Davis is just, she's just walking brilliance. And everyone else, the whole thing is just so put together so perfectly. And the performances, of course, are just unreal. And they just, they juxtaposed each other so beautifully and effortlessly. Okay. Now there's a movie, again, this is genre-less too. Like, if I went into genre, I'd have to go to all the best comedies and all the best, like cinema verite and all the best, noir. And I can't do that. These are these desert island movies. Okay. So there's a movie called The Ritz. This was done in the mid-70s. Ironically, 2 of my favorites were very popular Broadway shows. And 2 of my favorites were by the same director, so here we go. The Ritz, mid-70s, again based on a Broadway show, is comic timing brilliance and comedic acting brilliance and casting brilliance, okay? Takes place in a bathhouse. Yes, it's in a gay bathhouse, but the main character, Jack Weston, is not a gay bathhouse guy. so it appeals to all audiences, whatever. But, really, it is worth a look-see. It's very hard to find. If you do my trick and go into Google and type in the name movie or full movie and then click videos, and you keep scrolling down to Czechoslovakia, and somewhere in, wherever, they're going to have it. You just kind of twist it, and sometimes it has like subtitles, whatever. It's my trick. So anyway, The Ritz is just, so Rita Moreno, she originated the part of Gugi Gomez on Broadway. It's kind of like the mommy dearest kind of thing with her. She's like, she knows it's brilliant. Not that Faye Dunaway was brilliant. Let's do a whole show about her acting in that film. But so she knows she was brilliant. It's a high character performance. And I don't know what they did with it on Broadway just recently with Rosie Perez or whatever. But, Gugi Gomez is just like legendary character. unbelievable comedy par excellence. Jack Weston he breathes funny. F. Murray Abraham, who plays a key role in that film, again, big broad comedy. He rivals Rosalind Russell or Kate Hepburn in terms of timing, comedic timing for its time. I'm telling you, put them up against each other in certain contexts. So again, more brilliance. Just brilliance, brilliance, brilliance. They put Treat Williams in there, like this is first part. Totally cast kind of against type, but he again is like casting genius. And and then Kay Ballard and the story and the way it all folds together. From beginning to end, it's just I can't stop. I can't, like they say, I can't with this. So it's unbelievable. If you can see it, see it. You want to laugh, and then give it to me, and I'll watch 150 more times. Okay, now second favorite, or no, not second. Interior is All About Eve with the Ritz. Now we've got Death and the Maiden. Death and the Maiden was also a very popular Broadway show. Not really a show, a play. Now, this is the first of 2 Roman Polanski films that are in my top 5. That is why I guess you could say, in a way, Roman Polanski is my favorite director, film director. And side note, Mr. Spielberg, I did give you that letter about how much I admired Roman Polanski and complimented you on your work and, gave you that watercolor. No big deal. I'm always curious about that. But anyway, I don't think any of the other kids gave you their opinions on Roman Polanski at 15. So anyway, Polanski did, I'm going to go to the 5th one, but he did do Death and the Maiden. He took over Death and the Maiden. Now it's kind of weird that I'm flipping him first on the last movie, because they're impactful in totally different ways. Now, again, it's performance driven kind of for me, interiors, the brilliant performances. This stars Sigourney Weaver. Now, big surprise to all, many probably. Sigourney Weaver is like my second favorite actress next to Bette Davis. Second, third-ish, in that neighborhood. I know. Anyway, so she stars in this. She takes over the role of this. And this movie, I mean, again, Polanski in his quietude. Again, that was from Interiors, but there is a deafening silence to some of these brilliant films. Now we're on Death and the Maiden. The subject matter is so disturbing that you would be repelled, superficially, but it is again thick with drama and mystery. It is riveting. You really don't know. You really have to see it a second time from 2 perspectives. I don't want to give it away too much, but at first it's about her experience of what's happening, and he's just sort of like caught, and then the other character, and then there's a big reveal. But when you watch it a second time, you realize he knows the whole time what the fuck is going down. So then you pivot from her performance to him, Ben Kingsley, and it gives me gooseflesh. So now, number 5, Rosemary's Baby. Rosemary's Baby, again, Roman Polanski. Again, this is 49 to 99. Rosemary's Baby, I don't want to say the cliche, but, the well kind of known thing is that it is the first serious horror movie. Again, I don't know, Google it. It's the first of its kind. He started a whole genre of film, or he created a genre of film, or warped it, morphed it, improved it. And basically what he did was took a horror story with a horror, like a schlock producer, William Castle, and turned it into something completely different. It was in and of itself a compelling, astounding, brilliant drama. But it was a horror movie. This had never been done before. Horror movies hadn't entered the mainstream and got into your veins like you know what, man, the way Rosemary's Baby did. It like fertilized a new kind of being. where there was a horror movie, but there was a Oscar movie there. Okay, so again, this quietude is like deafening. His brilliance, you can taste. Polanski is so paced. He's so patient. He's so detailed. He's sumptuous in his filmmaking. I mean, I really do think Polanski is really one of the best filmmakers of the 20th century, easily. And not just because, he did other things, not many. I was a fan of his from Repulsion, which was 20 years earlier or whatever. No, well, not that many, but